Hi, I am Dana K. White. I am the author of Decluttering at the Speed of Life, as well as some other books, and I teach people how to declutter. That's my job. So, welcome to this live. I'm sorry that it's a few minutes late and it didn't have any warning because my computer was deciding to go very, very slowly. So, we'll see how this goes, but I try to do these. I say try because it is not guaranteed, but I try to do these live Q&As on Tuesdays at noon Central. So if I know some of you might, it's a Veterans Day here in the US, and so some of you might be not normally around at this time. So welcome. I'm glad that you're able to be here live, but that's when I try to do it. So I know a lot of, thank you so much, Ivy. I hear a lot of people, well, we get occasional, not a lot, but occasional emails or comments from people saying, when are these lives and how do I know for sure? Well, they're not guaranteed. And so, it's often, can I do it or not? But I try to do them Tuesdays at noon Central Time. So if you are not in the US, or if you just have time zone issues, kind of the way that I do, if you're trying to look up that time zone Central, it's the same as Chicago. And that's usually how it's listed in different places. This is the time that it is in Chicago is the same time for me in Texas. So, all right. I got my edits back from my book that will come out in another year. So I don't talk too much about it, but so I'm back to my mornings of working on the book. And so I kind of rushed in here at the last minute, and so I don't have any questions pre-prepared. I mean, there's lots and lots of questions that have been asked ahead of time, but if you want to ask a question for a future live, you can go to askdanakWhite.com. Don't forget that if you need your personal questions answered, I have decluttering coaches who are trained and certified by me in my no mess process to lead you through that process. So we do now have, which people are starting to take advantage of it a little bit more, but we do have a thing where you can sign up for the first available coach who is available to work with you virtually. So y'all ask your questions. As you ask questions, please put question marks at the beginning of your question so that I am more likely to see it come down the side. I probably won't get to all the questions, but just letting you know that. Okay. All right. You just get the somebody, why am I freezing? Are y'all okay? We just set the notification bell. Okay. I don't even know what that means because I'm not a great YouTube person, but yeah, love it. I'm sure y'all probably know what that means. Thank you. Marianne says, reading Jesus Doesn't Care About Your Messy House right now. Loving it. So that is my most recent book that came out in February, right, of this year. And, my other books do not contain spiritual content, and that book explains why. So that book is the spiritual side of all of this. So Victory, Carrie says, your 5 steps work on sentimental stuff, papers, homeschool materials. I'm surprised every time. Thank you for sharing that, Carrie, because, by the way, I'm in the dark. I forgot to go turn on my lights and they're all the way across the room. So it is what it is today. But I appreciate you saying that, Carrie, because it is very normal to get excited about, a 5-step process that actually makes sense to me. And I think I can do this. And you do it on certain things. And I always say, don't start with the hard stuff, start with the easy stuff, see how it works. And yet often the overwhelm that you feel over things like sentimental stuff, paper, homeschool material. I was not a homeschooler, but I hear this from those of you who homeschool all the time. Like, this is your daunting category. You've named 3 daunting categories. And it is very normal to feel like, okay, I get the process, but these are a different category. These are their own big daunting category. It couldn't possibly work on that. So what I want to encourage you to do, and take Carrie in Texas's encouragement here, is to use the process on those daunting categories. Start at the beginning. Even though you're like, well, there's no trash, it's all sentimental. Look for trash anyway, because remember that looking for trash has more benefit than just finding trash. It has the benefit of pressure-free, non-committal looking. That is a huge part of the value of step one. So anyway, try the process, even on the category of items that you're convinced it could never work on, because Carrie said it, not me. I mean, I've said it a million times, but Carrie is saying it. Thank you, Carrie. Let's see. Oh, Rune says, when we subscribe, we get a pop-up when you go live. Okay, so subscribe. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Rachel's one of my coaches. Yay, it's Dana Tuesday. You're always so great at being here. Let's see. I'm usually at work, so I never get to see these lives. I'm off work for Veterans Day. That's what I was kind of hoping, is that some people who maybe normally can't be here are able to be here and need the motivation to clean and declutter today. Love it. Let's see. Just want to say thank you. Okay, I'm going to have to admit a problem here in a minute. Something helping a recent widow in her husband's study. I remembered that it is her definition of rubbish which counts. That was super helpful and built trust. Exactly. When you are helping someone else, when it's their stuff, their space, even though you're the one leading them through the process, it is so important to remember that on those first 3 decision-free steps, well, everywhere, right? But really on those first 3 steps of trash, easy stuff that they already know what to do with, they already know where it goes, and obvious donations, donations, it is their definition of rubbish. Meaning, like, the question is not, the step is not, I'm going to find all this rubbish and get it out of here. It's you, the person whose stuff it is, who needs to be able to work through this whole process. Do you see any obvious trash? And let's get this out of here. I will sometimes say, hey, is this obvious trash? And if they say no, even though to me, I'm thinking, how could this not be obvious trash? I don't. I just let it go. Okay. And wait, so that, because you're going to get to it eventually anyway, because what you just said right here, it's super helpful because it builds the trust that this is not going to be a session of me forcing my opinions about your stuff on you. Instead, it's me guiding you through the process. So I love, love, love that that's your experience, Ivy. Okay. I do have to tell y'all, I have this, and I need to turn my computer off and turn it back on, because I have this black box in the middle of my screen, and it's been there for like a week. And so it's just so happens that it is like right in a lot of these questions. Oh, I guess I could look over to the right and then see it, but I was like, it's blocking out a couple of the words of the question. So just a little about me. When you start the process of writing a book, do you start with the theme, idea, examples, personal stories, or do you start with the conclusion in mind first and the introduction of the end? I don't know that I have a very exact thing to say with what, your question necessarily, but I will say this is how it works. I feel like now all of my books are based on things that I have already been teaching. So it is not starting from absolutely, I'm going to come up with an idea and then figure out how to teach that idea. I've already been teaching these things, right? But the books that I've written, except for Organizing for the Rest of Us, which is one that the publisher asked me, hey, do you want to take the things that are in your other books and put them in this style of book to be in a different category? So except for that one, I feel like all of my books, the overall theme gets downloaded into my brain. And it's not really a download. It's like a moment of clarity that I have where, like, I can specifically remember, especially like the Jesus book that came out in February and the book I'm working on now that won't come out for another year. Those were like moments of the title just like appearing in my head. But that title was basically taking all the things that had been swirling in my brain and putting it into oh, that's how that's a book. Okay. And then what I basically do is I have a notes um, I have a note on my phone. I have an iPhone and it has the notes. I'm sure that Androids have that as well. But I have that and then live my life. When an idea comes in my head that would be something for that book, I put it in that note. And then I go back through that and I turn that into a very loose outline guide. And then I just work through it and I just get in there and I work through it. So yeah, I don't, yeah. Okay. Let's see. Why is it not? Okay, there we go. Hi, my son just got married on November 8th. Congratulations. The mom part of, oh, sorry. The main part of the house is in great shape, but the garage is a dumping ground. How can I go through that monster without it spilling over into the house? I recommend that you follow this thing. I like to call it the no mess decluttering method. um, Welcome if you're new here. I'm sure that I'm not being sarcastic. I'm just saying, like, this is like my 5-step no mess decluttering process is tailor made for exactly your situation. Because and so this is such a great example to talk through because you just said the main part of the house is in great shape. So the fear is if I declutter the garage, isn't that going to mean that the things that are in great shape get covered in piles and of, spread out mess as I try to work through the garage? That is what I used to think I had to do to declutter. Therefore, I would put off decluttering because I was like, you know what? I think I'd rather just ignore the garage than have all this work that I've done come to nothing because of all piles. Like it is an assumption that to declutter, you have to make piles. You have to pull things out. You have to spread things out to look at it and sort it and all that. That is not true. The no mess decluttering process is what to use because what you're going to do is whatever the entrance is to that garage, if it's maybe a door from within your house or the garage door itself or whatever, you go there and knowing what you know, which is I like the way my house looks and is functioning right now. Therefore, I don't want to add a bunch of stuff to it. So if I go to that garage with the mindset that that I don't want to move this stuff into my house. Like my house, I like the way it is. So if something is going to go into my house, it has to earn its way there. It has to deserve the space that it's going to take up. And if the house is under control, then that means that if something from the garage goes into the house to live, most likely something else is going to need to be displaced. Something else is going to need to be thrown away or donated in order to make the space for this item that's going to go from the garage to there, which gives even more importance to the fact that it has to earn its way into the house. How do you do that? Well, you start at that doorway, whatever entrance it is, and from what you can see without pulling everything out, from what you can access without pulling everything out, see if there's any trash. Look for trash and throw that in the trash bag or the recycling bin, whatever you've got. The beauty of the garage is like you can have your big trash bag and your big recycling bin just right out there and start throwing stuff away, knowing that I'm going to have to throw away a lot of stuff. If this, let's say this garage is packed to the door, like you can't even, you're not saying that, but you can't even get into the garage. When you're understanding the reality of space and the fact that your house right now is what it needs to be, and that anything that leaves the garage and goes in the house has to have the actual space to be there and live there, then it becomes a reality, not necessarily a fun reality, not one that you're excited about, but an accepted reality that things need to leave, like be gone, like totally they have no place. So going in with that mindset means more stuff is going to be trash than if I didn't have that mindset. If I didn't understand the reality of space and clutter threshold and container concept, I would go in and not be as ready to throw away trash. But because I know that, I'm ready. So whatever you can see here without pulling things out, without making piles, if you can see it and access it and get it and it's trash, throw it in the trash or recycling. Then once you can't see and access any more trash from where you are able to get into the garage without pulling everything out, without making a bunch of piles, without shifting things around, then look for easy stuff. Is there anything here that I do know where it goes? For whatever reason, it got thrown out here, or I have no idea how it got out here, whatever. Is there anything that I can see without moving things around and access without pulling everything out that is easy, that I do know what to do with it? I know exactly where it goes. It already has an established home, so it's not a decision to make. It's just a matter of doing that thing. Get that and take that out. Every time you come back and you have gotten trash out and you have gotten easy stuff out, it's going to be a little less overwhelming. You're going to be able to get a little bit further. When you get out one easy thing, you might see trash behind it. Well, you've already got your trash and your recycling right here. Recycling only if you already have it. And so you stick it in that. Okay. And you're moving forward, but you are not pulling everything out. And then go with the obvious donations. What can I see and access without pulling everything out, without pulling anything out? That is an obvious donation that just needs to go straight into the donate box. Okay. And I've got my donate box right here. So you do that. And then as you get rid of those three things, and the only things that you can see and access are not obvious, they're not decision free, then you pull out one item and you ask yourself, if I needed this item, where would I look for it first? And if the answer is in the garage, but you can't get into the garage, well, then it stays there. If the answer is somewhere in the house, then it is crucial because of, well, it's always crucial. I'm always going to tell you to do this, but it's extra, extra crucial because of your situation. Take it there now. Take it now to that place where you would look for it first inside the house. Don't let it be oh yeah, I know what that space looks like. No, go there. Half the time, especially once you've done it a time or two, you're going to be like, I don't feel like walking this into the house. It's not that important. It's actually an obvious donation when I took a moment to stop and think about it. Okay. So, but even if you're willing to take it in the house, you take it in the house and you face the reality of that space because you just said the house is in great shape. If I add all these things from the garage to the house that's in great shape, the house will not be in great shape anymore. And you want the house to stay in great shape. So you take it there now. Is there room for this item? If there is not room for this item there, then what am I willing to get rid of in order to make the room for this item? Ideally, trash or an obvious donation. It may not have been trash or an obvious donation to you before, but because you are in the mindset of, I need a place for this, certain things just turn into trash or obvious donations. Then those things will take you back to your trash and your donate box at the space you're originally working on. Or you will realize, the house is in great shape. This thing doesn't deserve space over any of these things that are in the great shape house. And this item that before you were like, well, of course it's necessary. It's needed, blah, blah, blah. I would look for it such and such place. Then it becomes a donation. Okay. Because you're not willing to get rid of something else for it. So going through the process is key. A couple things to think about with your garage. I know that the thought is, but I need to organize my garage. But a lot of those things are going to stay out there in the garage. And so the issue here is organizing, Dana. It's not decluttering, it's organizing. And I don't, you didn't say that necessarily, but That is what a lot of people think, right? Like, no, 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 I need to make the piles. I need to figure out what the zones are. I need to do, no, you don't. If it is a dumping ground, you need to declutter first, even if you are going to keep every single thing in there. You're not, but you've got to declutter first. Go through this process so that at the point where you do make the zones and things, which is going to naturally be made over the course of the process, according to where you would look for it first, and the consolidation part of step 5, those, all that's going to naturally happen, but you'll be ready for it and you'll have the space for it, and you won't be dealing with things that you have no business moving around 16 times while you're doing that, and you won't make a bigger mess, and your house will actually stay under control. Okay, let's see. Your 5-step system works so well. Thank you. That's 2 exclamation points, everybody. That's not me saying 2 exclamation points. Okay, your 5-step system works so well is the way that is. I get stuck on putting up art. The take it there now and where would you look for it first are hard when it requires a lot more planning and thought. I get this. Y'all know I don't teach which I know a lot of people like to focus on the perfectionism issue, right? I don't teach that because I am an actual perfectionist in other areas where I just cannot stop until it's perfect. This is not one of those areas for me, and so I don't do that. But I do think there's some perfectionism going on here. The reality is, it is better to hang the art in a place that that is the best you can think of right now, because where you would look for the art first, if it was in its final home and not sitting here as clutter, is on the wall. So, I mean, if it's a hanging kind of thing, right? But the best place that you know on the wall to put it there. And I get it. Some of you are like, no, nail holes. I've done a whole podcast on nail holes, because nail holes, how do I say this nicely? I have been in more than one situation where someone is obsessed with not damaging the home with a nail hole, but there is real damage, like actual physical rotting or real damage being done by the clutter. Like real damage being done by the clutter. And yet the obsession is over not putting in a nail hole because of the damage. The nail hole is a better choice. The take it there now, the put it in the less than perfect place. So I got a new couch. It's not new. It's new to me. I'm so excited about it. And then I realized, I might want to, it has like silver, what are those, the nails, has silver. And I'm like, I don't know if that's the perfect thing for my living room, that color. Maybe I don't want it silver. Maybe I want to do something to that. And one of my friends who was at my house when I was having some strong young friends, moved the old couch around and the new couch. Anyway, she said, yeah, live with it for a while. And I went, yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. She's decorating genius, queen, artistic, lovely. But live with it for a while. Right. But I couldn't live with it for a while that couch was in my garage. The living with it for a while is it being in my living room and seeing it in the context here. The Nester, she's the queen of decorating, Michael and Smith. And one of the things that she will do is she will put up like a fake such and such to give her the visual of living with this item. The nail hole is worth it. It just is. The nail hole's worth it. And it may be worth it when you look at it as if you're down to it being one piece of art and the rest of the house is completely done and you've got one painting that you don't know what to do with, then you probably also have a space for that painting to live, although that painting's also not living its life. And so I'm still going to be, all for the nail hole. But if you look at it and you go, like, have that moment of like, what's the function here? If this is the thing that's tripping me up and the whole room is a mess, then I need to get this on the wall because that's one thing that is done there. Okay. Let's see. Gina says, we are still using the 5-step method amidst our move that has included a huge downsize and extended construction delays. I love it. I've listened to Cass and Dawn talk about their paper sorting systems. I would love to hear your take on how you sort through mail and papers. Do you store, file a lot of paper? No. And I learned everything from Cass and Dawn. If you are new here, she is talking about Cass from Clutterbug and Dawn from The Minimal Mom. I do a course with them, which is not on sale right now, but will be soon. So keep an eye out. But yeah, I have a video. So it would be better for me to just say, look up Dana K. White paper on YouTube. And there's 2 different videos. One where I talk about using the 5-step process to go through paper, and then the sorting system. But I learned it all from them. So I always default and say, y'all go to them for that. Let's see. Discouraged because my closet shelf broke. Oh, I'm sorry. And it's a problem that's slowing down process in every part of my home. How do I tackle something annoying and daunting so I can put things away again? Think of fixing the closet shelf as take it there now. That is the take it there now, because it is the thing that's stopping the process from continuing. But if you are not willing to or not able to do the closet shelf, maybe for whatever reason, you just can't do that right now, then we take the closet shelf out of the equation, because the closet shelf doesn't exist because it's broken. So we take that out of the equation and you say, okay, well, where would I look for this first? Because here's the thing. If you have for the closet shelf to be stopping the process in the whole house, it is likely that what's going on is you're thinking, where would I look for this first? The closet shelf, the closet shelf, the closet shelf. And you're letting that turn from a challenge into an excuse, in that all that stuff's not going to fit on the closet shelf anyway. Right. But it's like, oh, well, if I had a closet shelf, that'd be where it would go. So I would say remove that from the equation and say, well, the closet shelf doesn't exist. And so where would I look for it first? Because I've got to give it a real home, and it has got to get that real home by something else leaving in order for my house to actually move forward. And that is what you need to have happen here. Okay. Let's see. Okay. If y'all have asked a question that I've missed, you can ask it again, put question marks at the front. Can you talk more about the after the initial declutter, how it affected your experience of living life? Yes. So I don't necessarily divide it into like the initial declutter versus not. I'm just like, a big part of it for me was realizing, oh, there's no such thing as being done with decluttering. And that was actually very helpful for me, because I realized, oh, I'm going to keep decluttering, which then takes this pressure to do it perfectly away. Like I don't have that pressure because I'm like, oh, this is something I'm going to do forever. The decluttering, how it affected my experience of living life was, as I decluttered, I realized, oh, I've just been decluttering, and now I'm realizing my house doesn't overwhelm me anymore. My house doesn't get completely out of control. My house isn't keeping me from being able to do the things that I want to do, to have people come over to my house, whatever. That was the big motivation to me to stay under my clutter threshold. And also the thing that made me go, okay, well, this is easy now. What if I got rid of more stuff and it was even easier? Like that mindset was huge for me. Let's see. I'm a junk journaler and have tons of cards from exchanges I haven't gone through yet. They are taking up space and stressing me out, but I can't bring myself to get rid of them. What should I do? Designate a container according to where you would look for them first. Okay, so whatever space that you have for your junk journaling supplies, say, okay, this is the part of that space that I'm going to donate to cards that I've gotten from exchanges. And then you let that space first go through. If you already have that, if you're like, well, I already kind of have a tub for that, but it's overflowing. Okay, well, what's already in the tub, without pulling everything out, go through and see, is there anything in here that's actually trash? Oh, here's the envelope that this came in that's actually empty because I took it out a long time ago. For some reason, I left the envelope in there. Oh, there's these other, get those things out so that you actually have an idea of the space. And then whatever's not in there at this point, you say, okay, you pick it up, and is it worthy of space in the container? If it is, then what in this container am I willing to get rid of in order to make the space for this? And you let that container make those hard decisions for you on this, which I completely understand. You're like, but this is the hard. I promise it works. Give it a try. Give it a try. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Help a friend dealing with mom's hoard. What would be a way to help her get past wanting to save things for family members? They don't help her or come get what they want. Has been going on since the mother passed, I'm thinking is what you meant. So a text group or a family Facebook group, whatever works best for the family, would be the best way to do this, because what can happen is wanting to save things for family members, they may not actually want it. So what I did when I cleaned out my mother-in-law's and father-in-law's home was I had a text group of all the adults in the family, and I would take a picture of something and I would say, anybody want this? And then it was always surprising to me what they didn't want. There were a lot of things that I didn't take a picture of because I was like, I'm not going. But if I came across something that I was like, maybe somebody would want this, I would put it in the group. And I told them all, I said, Emily, your spot is behind the recliner. Allison, yours is over here. Pam, yours is here. Like everybody had a spot and they knew what their spot was. And then there was a date that came where those things had to be gotten, right? So it could be a tub for each of them. It could be whatever. Your tub is full, just so you know, your tub is full, whatever. I need you to come get it by such and such date. I know that this is hard, but the first step is going to be actually asking people if they want the things. And then it's going to be designating a space. If this is a space that she is, this is her actual living area and these things are just kind of floating in here, then go with the container of, okay, what part of your house are you willing to devote to the stuff that family members want? And then use that as the container. Maybe it is part of her garage or a closet. And you say, the reality is we can't keep everything. Our goal is, for your house to be functional and enjoyable for you. So if this closet is the space and you've got 10 family members, then that determines how big these tubs can be. If you have 2 family members and a closet, then each family member could have, this, and this is also temporary, right? But we've got to have a place to put it now that doesn't take up the space that you need to live your life. But if we have 10 family members, then that's a lot smaller containers, and they're going to have to, so-and-so, you keep saying you want stuff, but you got to come get it, or otherwise I'm going to have to get rid of things because I can't live in this space like this. Let's see. I have a lot of false walls, so I can't use nails. What could I use instead to hang heavy objects? I am not an expert in this at all. I don't trust anything I ever nail on the wall. So I'm sure there's some people here who could help you with that. I bet you, I'll bet you there's a YouTube video about that. Let's see. I'm a junk. Okay, I already did that one. Let's see. Okay, this is somebody sharing that the name of the 2 videos that I've done about paper are Break Decluttering Paralysis, Even Paper, and I Solve the Paper Clutter Problem. Let's see. Fell, broke thumb, wrist, dominant hand, ideas on moving forward decluttering. Yeah, go slowly. Do what you can do. It's very, very easy, especially on something where you're already overwhelmed, like clutter, to when you face a legitimate challenge, you are facing a legitimate challenge. This makes it harder. Absolutely, it does. It is very normal to focus in on what the hand means, what the hand being broken means you cannot do. But reframing that and saying, okay, so there are legitimately things I cannot do. Maybe you cannot hang a picture on your own because of this situation. What can I do? What can I do? It's going to go slower because I'm using my non-dominant hand. But what can I do? I can still throw away trash. It may be a little more awkward. It may be a little more difficult, but I can still do that. So focus on what you can do. Let's see. Any tips on how to start a good habit like the 5-minute pickup? Absolutely. Don't think of it as starting a habit. Think of it as, I know I want to do the 5-minute pickup consistently. You cannot do that consistently today. It's not possible because the definition of consistently is doing it again and again and again. But if you're ever going to do it consistently, why not go ahead and do it today? Because there's value and benefit in it just doing it today. Even if you're just doing it to see what kind of an impact it has, whatever. This is my wheelhouse right here, right? Like this is I am incredibly gifted at not starting a 5-minute pickup because I want to know the perfect way to do it as a habit, right? Like I'm not saying like I'm gifted at knowing how to do it right. I'm saying I'm gifted at knowing how to do it wrong. So I get where you're coming from. The key though for me was to say, like right now, as you're thinking about, I don't know if you can get up or not, but right now, because you're thinking about a 5-minute pickup, that's the best time to do it. Don't analyze what would be the best time to do a 5-minute pickup over the course of my every single day. Instead, say, I'm thinking about it right now. I've got 4 minutes. I'm going to do a 4-minute pickup right now because I'm thinking about it right now. And the doing it once is going to, and paying attention to, oh, that made a big difference. Oh, that didn't feel like such a huge big deal, is the thing that's going to make it come to mind again tomorrow at some other random time. And then when it comes to mind and you have the opportunity at that moment, do it. That is going to be the thing that turns it into a habit, as opposed to coming up with the very best way to turn this into a habit. Okay. And also just a little note. I used to think that habits like this were going to be like my bad habits, where I didn't even realize I was doing it. Like, oh, wait, did I just open another mini thing of Skittles from my kid's Halloween bucket? I didn't even realize I did that. Well, I thought that if something was going to become a habit, it was going to be like that. Like, did I just do the dishes? Did I just do a 5-minute pickup? I didn't even realize I did that. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. So, okay. I'm a piler. And I tend to shift piles to my room, and then those piles pile up, and it's just annoying. I want to embrace my natural tendencies and set myself up for success. I have 2 under 3, meaning 2 children under 3, I'm guessing. The 5-step no mess decluttering process is what you need. So it is designed to have you make progress, and only progress, never a bigger mess, never piles. Okay. It is following this process will keep you from shifting your stuff. Like, I used to think I was decluttering and I was stuff shifting. That's why my house never got any better. It works very well when you have young children because it's focusing on what you can do and doing that thing completely, so that when you get distracted, because that is a reality of this phase of your life, you have only made progress. Let's see. You can get a copy of my 5-step process at aslobcomesclean.com/5, F-I-V-E. You can also listen to the audiobook of Decluttering at the Speed of Life or Organizing for the Rest of Us. In both of those, I talk about the process. Most libraries carry these as well. And I don't cuss. And so you can listen to it in front of your kids. Like, yeah. I actually hear that from a lot of y'all. You're like, oh, I can listen to your podcast when my kids are in the car. Let's see. Any advice for someone acting as feet for a parent when where would I look for it first space is full? Take your phone and show with the camera. Okay, here's the thing. Just like you were as a child with them, they're going to come right back at you doing some of the same tactics that you probably tried on them, which is she'll give up eventually, right? So those first several times of like, oh, there's no room for it here. Take a picture, take it back. Hey, this is what it looks like. What do you see here that you're willing to get rid of in order to make the room for this? They're going to try to, oh no, I'll do that later, whatever, and but be willing to go 5-6 trips back. That wasn't enough space. I'm sorry. Okay, no, I'm really willing to do this. I really am going to sit here until you tell me what we're going to do, and we're going to keep doing. Sticking with it there for those first couple times is going to change things, because then over time they're going to be like, I would look for it there first. Oh, Mom, remember I went there last time and there wasn't enough room. So go ahead and look at this picture. And, is there anything here that you'll be willing to get rid of in order for me to take it there? Eventually you're gonna be like, fine, just throw it in the donate box. But it's not immediate. You're gonna have to prove that you're really willing to stick with it. Should you declutter even if you're not feeling 100%? Absolutely. The first 3 steps of my no mess decluttering process are emotional energy free. And trash you can do without even moving around. So they're emotional energy free. The more progress that you make without expending emotional energy often increases your emotional energy. And I'm not sure if you're talking about physically, psychologically, whatever here, but yes, do what you can do. Okay. The main declutter is done. Yay! The bedroom looks empty. Is getting art and bedding replacing clutter? How do I decide how much money it's worth spending on them? The money question is totally up to you. It's not replacing clutter to get art and bedding. But feel free to go slowly. I think a lot of my clutter issues came from me thinking, oh, I want to decorate this room, and going and buying, even if it was a garage sales or thrift stores, collecting all this stuff to be able to do that. Where I work much better when I just go really slowly. I'm like, I am going to wait until I find a great piece of art and then I'll put it up there. And so it is a little bit empty looking until I get to that point, but it works a lot better. So as far as bedding goes, think about your clutter threshold and think about, because I know for me, I don't do a bunch of pillows on the bed, which is funny because I'll sometimes have, like, I don't know when people will see something and they'll be like, "Oh, it's so nice that there aren't a bunch of pillows on the bed." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah. Once upon a time, I gathered a bunch of pillows to put on a bed, and then it was like, well, that's just pillows that get kicked around all over and over because I'm never going to do that, right? Like that is over my clutter threshold. So think about some of the things that consistently didn't work in the past, and you know how are things easier because it's decluttered, and so be super thoughtful and purposeful about putting some things in there. Let's see. Should we wear shoes when decluttering? Is it better to go barefoot due to hygiene reasons? I mean, that's a personal decision. I don't think about whether I have shoes or not on. So I think that's just personal. The thing that you don't want to do is let that stop you. Okay. So if you feel like you need to wear shoes, wear shoes. If you feel like you need to go barefoot, go barefoot. But that's a question that can feel like, oh, this is an important question. I've got to answer this question first. It is not a question you need to ask. You need to answer first. So just do whatever you can do to actually get started. Let's see. Can take a couple more questions. I'm looking for ones that have question marks at the front. Let's see. Your help has changed our home. Thank you. Yay. Good for you. Now trying to help family using your method. They are very open to it, but keep getting distracted with each other's questions. How do I help focus on the method? I recommend that you print it out. So get a copy at aslobcomesclean.com/5, F-I-V-E. You sign up for my newsletter, which is free, and then you get a free copy of that. And so that you have it in front of you, and maybe print out a couple of copies and post it. Zero in on those 2 decluttering questions and use that as going back to the paper to stay on track. So that as someone else says, well, let's think about if we're ever going to use this or blah, 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 say, actually, those things will all come into play, but we're going to ask these questions. So that lady on the internet, and go through that. That'll be very helpful. Okay. I love it. OG Ziggy says, I printed and laminated the questions. I've heard from a lot of people who've done that. So love it. Let's see. Yeah, I only just about managed to work with cushions on the sofa, so bed cushions would be too much for me. Same. My new couch did come up with some really pretty pillows. I think I'm going to have to keep those. But we'll see. We'll see. All right. Anybody, let's see. How do I know the difference between items you need in the next season versus don't? Military spouse here. Some items I need in the next house, and some I just thought I would. So you are a military spouse, which means you move into different configurations of homes and things. I will say that while I am not a military spouse, so I haven't been in this exact situation, I know that the best thing I've been able to do is to treat temporary spaces as real spaces. Yes, they're temporary. Yes, I don't know what we're going to be next, whatever. But my biggest regrets come from keeping things that had no business being in a house that I was in temporarily because I might need them in the next house. It just added things to move, things to go. It just was not a good thing. So really zero in on our right now life, which may only be a year or 2 in this specific space, that deserves priority. So if there is a closet that you're able to designate to, this is the space that where I can put things that we may not need in this house, but we really might need it in the next house. If there's a space if there's no space for that, then you let those things go and you realize that somebody, you probably know from military spouses, military situations that, there's going to be people when you move into the next space who are needing to get rid of stuff because they're moving into their next space. So that, but what space can I devote to the things that I might need at a future time? And then let that be your container. That's going to naturally sort out the most valuable or most important or most beloved things that don't have a space in this home, but might need a space in the next one. That limited space is going to naturally help sort that out. So, my son, Reed, actually, this year is in an apartment at his college, and he actually lives right above the, what do they call them? It's like a thrift store for the college kids, but it's free. Basically, it's whatever they call it, co-op, I think. And my daughter's school has one too. But people are just like, oh, these are the things I don't need. And so here they are. It's like, did we have that when I was in college? I don't think we did 30 something years ago. But that is not 30 years. I think it is 30 years ago. It's in college. Oh my gosh. Anyway, but that of course, he's him, and he was like, "Oh, I don't need any dishes. I don't need any whatever because my roommates might have them." And I was thinking, "Oh, but we should go ahead and go to the thrift store now and get these things just in case." But and he's known about that place and he maybe had been there once before, but now that he lives like literally right above it, he knows when it's open and he's gotten everything that he needs from that place. And so, thinking along those lines and going, I may let this go so that somebody who can actually for sure use it can go ahead and use it, but also somebody else is going to let the same thing go. I've mentioned this a lot. I don't know that I've mentioned it in a while, but I love what I heard Tish Oxenreider say. She doesn't really talk about organization anymore necessarily in her job. I don't actually know, but she did a long time ago. She talked about simplicity a lot. And she talked about viewing the thrift store as a storage unit, meaning I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this thing that I really don't have any room for or use for right now, but I'm thinking, oh, I'll probably need one of those in the future. But getting rid of it and giving it to the thrift store, like 3 years later, when she did need it, she could go and somebody else had gotten rid of theirs and she could buy it for $7. And it's like she had stored it for $7 for 3 years. Anyway, just a way of thinking about things that I find to be very helpful in that. So, all right. Oh, love it. So you hadn't, Caitlin's, who I was just answering your question. I hadn't considered container method for those items. Sometimes we live with snow, sometimes tropical. I get confused about what to keep. Yeah. And that's the thing is you don't know, especially you don't know where you're going to be living next and what you'll actually need, but also keeping all of the things for all of the possibilities is what makes it hard to live in your house. So, all right, this is fun. I'm glad this worked out. I'm kind of glad I didn't have my lights on because sometimes they hurt my eyes, but I will talk to y'all next time. I think I should be here next Tuesday. I think so. All right. I will talk to you later.